I dropped the bomb at Sunday dinner, which in hindsight was either brilliant timing or catastrophically stupid. My name is Claudette Morrison. I'm 56 years old. And for 32 of those years, I've been a mother who put everyone else first. That Sunday over roast chicken I'd spent 4 hours preparing. I told my 3 adult children I was selling the house, liquidating everything, and moving to Portugal alone permanently. There. Reactions ranging from outrage to entitlement, to one surprising moment of actual support revealed exactly who they'd become when they thought I existed, only to serve them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The story doesn't start at Sunday dinner. It starts 6 months earlier on a Tuesday morning when I woke up at 55 years old in the house I'd lived in for 28 years and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd done something just because I wanted to. Let me back up even further. Because you need to understand how I got here to understand why leaving felt like oxygen after drowning. I married young, 24, to a man named Jerome who was handsome, charming, and possessed exactly zero follow-through. We had 3 kids in 5 years. Aisha, then Marcus, then Simone. Jerome worked in sales when he worked, which meant income was unpredictable and stress was constant. I worked as an administrative assistant at a law firm, steady pay, health insurance, the backbone of our family finances. I paid the mortgage. I bought the groceries. I made sure the lights stayed on while Jerome chased commission checks that materialized half the time. When Aisha was 8, Marcus 6, and Simone 4, Jerome announced he was leaving. Not for another woman, at least not that he admitted, but because he needed to find himself. He found himself in Arizona working at a car dealership and sending child support, so irregularly I stopped budgeting for it. The divorce was quick because he didn't contest anything. He just wanted out. So there I was, 29, 3 kids, a mortgage, a full-time job. And the creeping understanding that I was alone in a way that makes you either collapse or calcify. I calcified. I worked overtime. I brought work home. I cooked dinners that stretched ingredients into miracles. I drove carpool, attended recitals, signed permission slips, stayed up until midnight doing homework I didn't understand just to make sure it got done. The kids had what they needed. I had exhaustion so bone deep it became my baseline. I dated occasionally, but nothing stuck. Men my age wanted someone without baggage. Younger men wanted something I didn't have energy to perform. I told myself I'd focus on romance once the kids were grown. Then the kids were grown, and I couldn't remember what romance felt like outside of novels and friends. Instagram posts that I suspected were lies anyway. Aisha went to college on scholarships I helped her apply for, worked 2 jobs, graduated with a business degree, and got hired at a consulting firm where she made more money at 25 than I'd made at 40. I was proud. I was also dimly aware that she called me mostly when she needed something advice on a lease, a recipe, someone to listen to her complain about her boss. When I called her, she was always swamped, but would call back soon. She rarely did. Marcus went to community college, dropped out. Worked a series of jobs he described as just temporary until I figure out my path. And at 31 still hadn't figured it out. He lived in the house until he was 28, rent-free because he was saving. When he finally moved out, it was into an apartment I co-signed for because his credit was complicated. He still asked for money monthly. I still gave it because saying no felt like admitting I'd failed him. Simone was the baby. The artistic one, the one who felt everything too much. She went to art school, racked up debt, moved back home after graduation, and stayed for 3 years while she built her portfolio. She painted in the guest room, left supplies everywhere, and contributed sporadically to groceries when she had bartending shifts. She moved out 2 years ago into a shared house with 4 roommates and a rotating cast of boyfriends who never lasted. She called me when she was heartbroken, which was often. I loved my children. I love my children. But somewhere in the grind of raising them alone, I'd become less a person and more a function. I was the bank, the therapist, the career counselor, the chef, the backup plan. I was the person they called when their lives got hard, but not the person they thought about when life got good. That Tuesday morning 6 months ago, I woke up and realized I was done. Not done with them, done with being this version of myself. The self that existed only in relation to others. The self who said yes when she meant no because no felt selfish. The self who'd spent 3 decades building a life for people. Who'd walked into their own lives and forgotten to look back. I started researching. Countries where the cost of living was low, the weather was decent, and healthcare wouldn't bankrupt me. I found Portugal specifically. It's a small coastal town 2 hours north of Lisbon, where expats said you could live comfortably on $2,000 a month. I looked at apartments online, bright tiled with balconies that overlooked the ocean. I calculated finances. If I sold the house, the 4-bedroom, I no longer needed, I'd walk away with enough equity to buy a small place outright in Portugal and have a cushion to live on while I figured out work. I had a decade of administrative experience. Remote work was possible. Worst case, I'd teach English. I didn't need much. I just needed mine. I spent 6 months planning in secret. I researched visas, calculated costs, set up consultations with realtors. I even flew to Portugal for a week in March, told the kids I was at a work conference, and walked the cobblestone streets like I was trying on a new life. It fit better than anything I'd worn in years. When I came back, I called a family dinner. Sunday, my house, 6 o'clock. I made roast chicken because it was everyone's favorite, which I realized midway through cooking was idiotic. Why? Was I still trying to soften them up with food? But habits die hard, especially the ones rooted in caregiving. Aisha arrived first because punctuality is her religion. She wore a blazer even though it was Sunday because she's incapable of dressing down. "Smells amazing, Mom," she said, kissing my cheek while checking her phone. "I can't stay to laterly meeting tomorrow." Marcus showed up 20 minutes late with a 6-pack of beer he drank himself. "Traffic was crazy," he said, which was code for "I left late and I'm not apologizing." Simone arrived last, wearing paint-stained overalls and carrying a canvas she wanted my opinion on. "I'm thinking of entering this in a show," she said, propping it against the wall. It was beautiful, a swirl of blues and greens that looked like the ocean I was about to move toward. We sat, we ate, I asked them about their lives. Aisha talked about a promotion she might get. Marcus talked about a business opportunity a friend told him about. Simone talked about a guy named River who might be the one. I listened. I nodded. I waited for someone to ask me a question. No one did. Dessert was apple pie. I served it. I poured coffee. And then I said, "I need to tell you all something." 3 faces looked up with the polite attention you give someone who's about to announce they repainted the bathroom. "I've decided to make some major changes." I began. My voice was steadier than I expected. "I'm selling the house. I'm liquidating most of my possessions. And I'm moving to Portugal." Silence. The kind that feels like air has been vacuumed out. "Portugal." Aisha repeated, like I'd said Mars. "Yes, a small town on the coast. I've already visited. I've researched the visa process. I'm putting the house on the market next week." "Wait, hold on," Marcus said, setting down his fork. "You're selling the house? This house, where we grew up?" "Yes, you can't do that," he said, as if it were a fact rather than an opinion. "I can, actually," I said. "It's in my name. It's my decision. But where are we supposed to go for holidays?" Simone asked, her voice rising in that way that precedes tears. "You're adults with your own places," I said, gentle but firm. "We can celebrate holidays anywhere. Or you can visit me in Portugal." "This is insane," Aisha said, her business voice fully activated. "Mom, have you thought this through? What about your job? Your health insurance? What if something happens and you're in a foreign country where you don't speak the language?" "I have thought it through," I said. "For 6 months. I've planned it carefully. I'll work remotely or teach English. Healthcare in Portugal is excellent and affordable. And I'm learning Portuguese." "Learning Portuguese," Marcus repeated, incredulous. "Mom, you can barely work the TV remote." "That's because I've never needed to," I snapped, surprising myself. You always ask me to do it for you. Aisha leaned forward. Okay, clearly you're having some kind of midlife crisis. I'm 56. Aisha, if this is midlife, I'm planning to live to 112. You know what I mean? This is a huge impulsive decision. It's not impulsive. I've been planning it for half a year. What's impulsive is assuming I'd live in this house forever just because it's convenient for you. The room went cold. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping loud against the floor. This is bullshit, Mom. You're really going to just abandon us? Abandon you. I felt something crack in my chest, hot and sharp. Marcus, you're 31 years old. You have your own apartment that I co-signed for. You have a life. How is me moving abandoning you? Because you're supposed to be here. He shouted. You're our mom. You're supposed to be here when we need you. And when do I get to need something? I asked quietly. He stared at me like I'd asked a nonsensical question. Simone was crying now, full on sobbing into her napkin. I can't believe you're doing this. I thought we were close. I thought we told each other everything. We do tell each other everything, I said. You tell me about your boyfriends and your art and your struggles. But when's the last time you asked me how I'm doing? Not as your mother. As a person? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't know exactly. I looked at all three of them. These people I'd built my life around. I have been your mother for 32 years. I have been available, supportive, present. I have put my life on hold while you built yours. And I did it willingly. I'm not claiming victimhood here. But now you're adults. You have careers, relationships, lives. And I'm realizing I don't. I have a job, a house that's too big, and a role as your emergency contact. That's it. It's not fair, Aisha said. We appreciate everything you've done. Do you? I interrupted. Because appreciation looks like reciprocity. It looks like calling me just to talk, not just when you need something. It looks like asking if I'm happy, if I need help. If there's something I want that doesn't involve serving you. The silence that followed was different, heavier. True? I'm moving to Portugal, I continued. The house goes on the market Monday. I'll be gone by Christmas. You're welcome to take anything from the house you want, furniture, photos, whatever. The rest I'm donating or selling. This isn't me abandoning you. This is me finally choosing myself. Aisha stood abruptly. I need to go. I can't process this right now. She grabbed her purse and left without looking back. Marcus stayed seated, staring at his beer. How much are you selling the house for? He finally asked. Why? I asked, though I already knew. Because if you're getting equity out of it, we're your kids. We should get something. I laughed. It came out bitter and surprised me. Marcus, I have given you everything. Your childhood, your education, your rent money last month. The equity from this house is mine. I earned it. I'm using it to build the life I've never had. We get nothing, he said flatly. You get a mother who's finally happy, I said. If that's not enough, then we have bigger problems. He left without finishing his beer. Simone stayed. She cried quietly for a while, then looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Are you really unhappy, Mom? I'm not unhappy, I said carefully. I'm just ... hollow. Like I've been poured out and never refilled. I love you all. But I need to love myself too. And I can't do that here, in this house, in this role. She nodded slowly. I get it, I think. It's just ... scary. Change is always scary, I said. Will you really be okay over there? Alone? I hope so. I think so. I reached across and took her hand. Simone, you are the only one who asked if I'll be okay instead of how this affects you. That means more than you know. She squeezed my hand. Can I visit? Please. I'll have a guest room. Small but yours whenever you want. She left an hour later, taking the canvas she'd brought. At the door, she turned back. Mom, I'm proud of you. I know I didn't say that, but I am. This is brave. I cried after she left. Not sad tears release tears. The kind that come when you've held your breath for decades and finally exhaled. The house sold in 3 weeks. A young couple with twins, exactly the kind of family who needed the space. They walked through and saw what I used to see. Potential, memories waiting to happen. A place to build a life. I saw a structure I'd been trapped in. We were both right. Aisha didn't speak to me for a month. When she finally called, her voice was cold and professional. I think you're making a mistake, but it's your life. I assume you'll let us know where to reach you in emergencies. Of course, I said. But Aisha, I need you to hear something. I'm not your emergency contact anymore, not in the way I was. I'll be 5 time zones away. You're going to have to figure things out without calling me first. And that's healthy. That's what adults do. She hung up without responding. She sent a Christmas card to my new address in Portugal 3 months later with a generic message and no return address. I haven't heard from her since Marcus asked for money twice before I left. Once for an investment opportunity that fell through. Once for just tiding me over until payday. I said no both times. He stopped calling. On moving day, he texted, "Hope you know what you're doing." I wrote back, "I do. For the first time in my life, I do." Simone helped me pack. She took the weekend off from bartending and showed up with boxes and tape. And playlists of music we used to listen to when she was in high school. We sorted through decades. Toys the kids had forgotten, photos from Christmases that felt both close and impossibly distant. We laughed and cried and at one point sat on the floor of the empty living room eating pizza from paper plates because I'd already donated the dishes. "Do you think they'll forgive you?" she asked. "I don't know." I said honestly. "Do you think I need forgiveness for choosing myself?" She thought about it. "No, I think they need to forgive themselves for not seeing you were drowning." I flew to Portugal 2 days before Christmas. Simone drove me to the airport. She hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe, then whispered, "Don't come back unless you're happy. Promise me. I promise." My apartment in Portugal is small, 1-bedroom, a living room that doubles as a kitchen. A balcony just big enough for a chair and a plant. The tiles are blue and white, the walls are thick. And the sounds that come through the open windows are church bells and the ocean and people speaking a language I'm learning one awkward sentence at a time. I teach English 3 days a week at a community center. The students are older, like me, learning because they want to, not because they have to. I work remotely part-time for a U.S. company doing administrative work. It pays enough. I don't need much. I wake up when I want. I drink my coffee on the balcony and watch the light change over the water. I walk to the market and buy bread and tomatoes and cheese that tastes like it was made by someone's grandmother that morning. I take a Portuguese class on Tuesday nights and stumble through conjugations with 5 other expats who are as lost and hopeful as I am. I've read books I've been meaning to read for years. I paint badly because Simone sent me supplies and said, "You don't have to be good. You just have to try." Made friends. Other women my age who moved here for similar reasons. Retirement. The soul-deep exhaustion of living for others. We meet for wine on Friday afternoons and swap stories about the lives we left and the lives we're building. There's a man named Antonio who runs the cafe down the street and flirts with me in broken English while I flirt back in broken Portuguese. It's sweet and uncomplicated, and I'm not ready for more, but I like that more exists as a possibility. Simone visited in March. She stayed for 2 weeks. Painted on the balcony, met my friends, fell in love with the town and Antonio's pastries. "You look different, Mom," she said one night over dinner. Lighter. Like someone untied a weight you didn't know you were carrying. That's exactly what it feels like. I said that she posts photos from her visit on Instagram, tags me, writes captions like my mom is living her best life, and I'm here for it. Aisha doesn't like or comment. Marcus doesn't either. I tell myself it doesn't matter, but it does. I'm human. I miss them. But I don't miss the versions of myself I had to be to keep them happy. In May, I turned 57. Simone sent a care package with chocolate and a painting she made of the ocean view from my balcony. Antonio brought me flowers. My friends threw a small party on the beach where we ate grilled fish and drank too, lunch wine and danced to music from a speaker that kept cutting out. I laughed until my stomach hurt. I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed like that. I called Aisha and Marcus on my birthday. Aisha didn't answer. Marcus did, sounded surprised I'd called, asked if I was still in Portugal. I said yes. He said, "Huh, well, happy birthday, I guess." We talked for 3 minutes about nothing. When I hung up, I cried, but only for a little while. 6 months into my new life. I got a message from Aisha, not a call message. "Mom, I got the promotion. I'm VP now. Thought you should know?" I wrote back, "That's wonderful. I'm proud of you. How are you feeling about it?" She didn't respond. I sent another message. "I'm here if you want to talk." Not as the person who fixes things, just as someone who cares. 3 days later, she replied, "I don't know how to talk to you anymore. You were always just Mom. I don't know who you are now." I thought about that for a long time. Then I wrote, "I'm still Mom, but I'm also Claudette. I'm also a person with dreams and needs and a life. I'm sorry it took me 56 years to figure that out. I'm not sorry I finally did." She didn't respond. But she didn't block me either, which feels like a door left open rather than slammed shut. Marcus called in July. He was drunk. I could tell from the way his words slurred together. "You know what, Mom? You were right. I've been thinking about it, and you were right. I've been a shitty son. I only called when I needed money. I never asked how you were. And when you left, I was mad because I lost my safety net, not because I lost you. And that's fucked up, Marcus." I said gently, "Are you okay?" "No," he admitted. "I got evicted. I lost my job. I'm crashing on a friend's couch and I feel like a failure and the only person I want to call is you. But I don't know if I'm allowed to anymore." "You're always allowed to call me," I said. "But Marcus, I can't fix this for you. I can listen. I can care. But I can't send money or solve your problems. You have to do that." He was quiet. "Then I don't know how." "You learn," I said, "the same way I did. You try, you fail, you try again, and eventually you figure it out." We talked for an hour. He told me things he'd never said before, how scared he was, how much he resented our father for leaving, how much he resented me for being strong because it meant he never had to be. I listened. I didn't fix. When we hung up, he said, "I'm sorry, Mom, for all of it." "I forgive you," I said. "Now forgive yourself and do better." "I don't know if you will." "That's not mine to carry anymore." Simone announced in August she's moving to Portugal. Not to my town, but to Lisbon, 2 hours south. She got into a residency program for artists, sold most of her stuff, and bought a one-way ticket. "You inspired me," she said. "I watched you choose yourself, and I realized I've been choosing other people bad boyfriends. Jobs I hate. A city that feels too loud. I want to try something new. I want to be brave like you." "You're already brave," I told her. "You just didn't know it yet." She arrives next month. We're planning to meet halfway between our towns once a week for lunch and bad Portuguese practice. I can't wait. I've been in Portugal for 10 months now. People ask if I miss home. I tell them I don't miss the place. I miss the idea of who I thought I was supposed to be. But that version of me was killing me slowly. One Sunday dinner at a time. I told my adult kids I was selling everything and moving abroad. Their reactions revealed everything that Aisha saw me as a function, not a person. That Marcus saw me as a resource, not a mother. That Simone saw me as human, which is the greatest gift a child can give a parent. But here's what I learned that their reactions also revealed. It's about me. I taught them to see me that way. By always saying yes. By never asking for help. By making my needs invisible so theirs could be seen. I trained them to take me for granted because I'd taken myself for granted first. Moving to Portugal wasn't about punishing them. It was about saving myself. And in saving myself, I'm showing them, especially Simone, that it's never too late to choose the life you want instead of the life you've resigned yourself to. Do I regret it? Not for a second. I regret the years I waited. I regret believing that being a good mother meant erasing myself. I regret not asking for what I needed until I was too empty to ask gently. But I don't regret the roast chicken dinner where I dropped the bomb. I don't regret the house sale or the move or the hard, messy conversations that followed. I don't regret choosing myself at 56. Even though it would have been easier at 26 or 36 or 40-6 because here's the truth. Nobody tells you. It's never too late. It's never too selfish. And the people who love you, truly love you, will understand. Maybe not right away. Maybe not for years. But eventually, they'll see that you choosing yourself gave them permission to do the same. I'm sitting on my balcony as I finish writing this, watching the sun set over the Atlantic. The tiles under my feet are warm. The wine in my glass is cold. There's music drifting from a neighbor's window, something Portuguese and melancholy and beautiful. Antonio just texted asking if I want to get dinner. I'm going to say yes. Tomorrow. Simone and I are video calling to plan her move. Next week, I'm starting an intermediate Portuguese class. Next month, I'm taking a train to Porto just because I've never been, and I can. I told my adult kids I was selling everything and moving abroad. Their reactions revealed everything about who they'd become. But my decision revealed everything about who I'd always been underneath the role. I'd played for 32 years. Someone who deserved a life. Someone who was worth choosing. Someone who could learn a new language, build new friendships, and watch the ocean from her own balcony in a country that didn't know her as anyone's mother. Just Claudette. Finally, just Claudette. And that's more than enough.